Hello everybody and welcome back to Modern Randy. Today I am going over a modern deck. As always, if you guys like what I'm doing, like what you're seeing, go ahead and give me a like, subscribe to the channel to keep up with all the videos. Modern Horizons 3 is here, so I'm going to be going over a lot of new modern decks and basically kind of showcasing what's going on in the format, as well as any kind of interesting brews I see. And as always, if you guys have something interesting you want to say, leave a comment. Let me know what you're seeing in the RCQs. That is still going on with Pioneer. I haven't forgotten. Still trying to get to my way to DC as well. And as always, just share anything you want me to showcase. I'll be happy to do it. But today we are talking about Mono Red Storm, or Ruby Storm as it has been so affectionately named. Basically, this deck has something that was not existing until MH3. Case in point, we have Ruby Medallion that just got printed into Modern. So it's a 2-mana artifact. All your red spells cost 1 less to cast. Obviously, that makes it easier if you're trying to storm off. Storm has kind of been a dead archetype for a long time now. Hasn't really been popular for the last, I want to say, probably 4+ years at this point. It's just kind of fallen off. It hasn't gotten any new tools in really anything for a long time now, and it's just kind of been sitting here, kind of hoping that someone's going to pick it up and revitalize it or do something for it. But kind of broke down the deck in the way it plays, or how the cards play out. So I'm going to go quickly over this here. We have 18 lands, running 8 mountains here, as well as a couple of fetch lands, 6 fetch lands altogether. We're playing 1 Firely Izzet, just as an extra way to draw another card late game, 2 Stomping Grounds, mainly for our sideboard, and then 1 Commercial District. A lot of times you're going to keep hands where you're going to get that Commercial District on turn 1, so you can kind of sculpt your game plan a little bit. And then from there, we're playing 1 Goblin Archimancer. Each spell you cast that's red or green costs 1 less to cast, literally making all your spells cheaper. Then obviously we're playing Ruby Medallion, 2-mana artifact. All your red spells cost 1 less to cast. Great spell. And then the new one we're playing here is Rao the Moon Sage Mage. Excuse me, Moon Sage Mage. Okay. So, going over this, he is a human wizard. He is 1 in a red to cast. He's a 1/3. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Alright, we've seen this before. We've seen it, in Baral, Goblin Archimancer that we just talked about. This isn't nothing new, right? We've seen this kind of ability. Now, what makes him broken? Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell during your turn, you can flip a coin. If you lose the flip, he deals 1 damage to you. If you win the flip, you can exile him. If you do, you transform him into Rao the Leyline Prodigy. So, Rao enters the battlefield with an additional loyalty counters for each instant and sorcery spell you cast this turn. Notably, if you're going off, you're playing a bunch of spells, and so he comes in with 2 loyalty already. So as long as you've played 6 spells before you flip him, he'll already be able to ultimate. But we'll go through his little abilities first. So +1 until your next turn, instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So basically, you get that reduction back. Alright, not too terrible. -2, you get to do 2 damage divided as you choose among 1 or 2 targets, and you draw a card if you control another blue permanent besides Rao. We're never going to draw another card. We don't have any other blue permanents. Doesn't matter. -8. Excuse me, -8, where it gets interesting. We can exile the top 8 cards of our library. You may cast instant and sorcery spells from among them this turn without paying their mana costs. So, the whole goal of this deck is essentially to continually go off, drawing cards, making mana, things like that. Eventually, you flip Rao, you -8, you get to keep doing it. Excuse me. You get to keep doing it, and so then, therefore, you get to Grape Shot your opponent for lethal. So, how are we getting to this point? What spells are we casting? What spells are we doing? What are we doing to get there? So, we have 4 Reckless Impulse and 4 Ren's Resolve. Basically, they're the same card. They're 1 in a red sorcery. You exile the top 2 cards of your library, and then until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. So, we've seen this before. Basically, when you have Rao out or Ruby Medallion, these all cost 1 to essentially draw 2 cards. Pretty good value, right? We are also playing 4 of Glimpse the Impossible. It is a new card from MH3. 2 in a red sorcery. Exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play those cards this turn. Notably, it's not until your end of your next turn. It's this turn, so you have to play those cards this turn. But at the beginning of the end step, if those cards are still exiled, you put them all into the graveyard, and you create an 0/1 colorless spawn creature token for each card put into your graveyard this way. They have, sacrifice to add a colorless mana. Notably, this is just more Ren's Resolve, Reckless Impulses, essentially when you're going off. Worst case scenario, you can play this on like a turn 3, something like that, just to get extra mana so you can go off the next turn. I've done it before. I've played a couple leagues with this deck. I wanted to be able to have a better way to explain this deck than just saying, I think this is good, or I think this is what this does. I have played this deck in 2 different leagues now. I have a little bit of experience to at least talk about this deck. And then we're playing 1 Valakut Awakening. So basically you're really playing this as another land, kind of your 19th land. You do sometimes cast this. I cast this once in the 2 leagues I played with this deck, so it didn't come up a lot by any means, but it is something you can cast. You put any number of cards from your hand onto the bottom of your library, then draw that many cards. I did this when I was going off. I was kind of starting to fizzle. I had this already exiled from a Ren's or a Reckless Impulse or something like that, one of the cards. And I was able to pitch 2 lands in my hand and draw 3 cards, and it did help me actually win that game. So it's not a trivial, like, nothing card, but a lot of times you're just using it as another, like, land number 18. And then, so we are also playing, obviously, 4 Desperate Rituals, 2 mana, make 3 mana, also a Splice to Arcane. In my 2 leagues, the Splice never came up. I don't think it's going to ever really come up. It's one of those things where it can, but it's not likely. Also playing Prophetic Ritual, again, 2 mana, make 3 mana. Which, obviously, when you have a Rao or a Ruby out, this now becomes, 1 red mana, make 3 red mana. We're getting, Dark Ritual in Modern. That's pretty good rate. And then, of course, Manamorphose, being able to draw a card and then make 1 mana into 2 mana. Not as good, obviously, as making 3 mana, but it does replace itself, so another good thing there. Then we're running 3 Pass and Flames to give all ourselves flashback. 1 Grape Shot as our kill condition, and then 4 Wishes. That way we can grab something from our sideboard, and I'll go over that here in a second. But so Wish says that you may play a card from outside the game this turn. Notably, just in case anyone who doesn't understand this or hasn't played with Wish before, when you cast Wish, you choose a card from your sideboard, and you have to cast it at the same time as you're resolving Wish. It's not something like you get to grab it from your sideboard and then hang on to it. So it's not something you can use to set up for an additional turn later on or anything like that. Just so we're all aware. This deck is a lot of fun. It definitely has a possibility to kill turn 2. I've done it a couple different times. And I know you guys are probably looking at this going, wait, how do you kill turn 2 with a deck that requires, a 2 mana setup, right? So, just to go over a turn 2 kill, essentially, or how you can get a turn 2 kill, it's not nearly as crazy as it sounds. So, obviously it starts off with having, 2 lands in play, right? So we have 2 lands. You're going to tap your 2 to play a Desperate Ritual or a Prophetic Ritual, whatever one. So we go up to 3 mana. With 3 mana, we then either cast a Rao, which is your best case, like you're casting a Rao because it helps you not fizzle nearly as much, and then or a Ruby Medallion. So we have 1 red floating. We then need to cast either another Ritual, Manamorphose, or we have 1 of the 2 rituals or Manamorphose. I almost said Ritual, Manamorphose, or Ritual. So then we'll go either from 1 mana to 2 or 1 mana to 3. And then we're going to start casting either Ren's Resolve or Reckless Impulses. And you can quite literally chain and snowball from there. I had, through my 2 leagues, I had a bunch of games where I turn 2 killed without remotely trying. You can fizzle on a turn 2 kill. It's not impossible to fizzle. It is kind of hard. You have to have some really incredible luck. That is what I had a lot, where I would go for the turn 2 kill and then Reckless Impulse into another Reckless Impulse and a land, and then somehow cast that second Reckless Impulse into 2 more lands going, what? Or you'll get super unlucky and you'll hit like Reckless Impulse into Pass and Flames, Wish, and go, cool, I can't cast these. And you start to question why you're playing this deck. It has a lot of give. If you've ever played Storm in the past, for some of my older Modern fans here, you know how Storm is. You have to take time to set up. You don't always need to go for it turn 2, but this deck can actually kill on turn 2, and it's not that crazy to see and watch it go. But moving on to the sideboard here, kind of like what's going on with this Wish package, right? So pull this out here. So what we have for our wish package mainly. So the big ones are we have the fourth Pass in Flames in our wish package. We have a Grape Shot, second Grape Shot in our wish package. That way, you know, if we can't find our first Grape Shot in the main deck, we can go grab it from our sideboard. And we have Empty the Warrens as another storm thing. Sometimes you can make a lot of mana, a lot of storm, but you can't, kill them with it. Very easy to go grab Empty the Warrens, make 20 goblins, go, hey, I'm gonna pass turn. Do you have a way to kill 20 goblins? If not, you're dying next turn. Let's see what happens. And then Alchemist Gambit is kind of a new one that people probably didn't think about this card existing. I know I didn't think about this card existing until I saw it. So it is a sorcery, two red and a generic. It has a cleave ability that does not matter. You're never casting the cleave ability. But it has take an extra turn after this one. During that turn, damage can't be prevented. And then at the beginning of that turn's end step, you lose the game. Exile Alchemist Gambit. So notably, this lets us kill through a This lets us kill through a ring, right? So if our opponent's like chaining rings or doing anything like that, this lets us kill through a ring, right? So we can make some mana, grab it from our wish board, play Alchemist Gambit, take our next turn, and then go off because now damage can't be prevented. So it is kind of one of those cool things like that. Also gives you like that extra, where, oh man, if I just have one more turn, I'd be able to win. Well, here's your one more turn. Part of else, that's what else we have on our sideboard for the wish package is Flameblast to deal with any problematic permanents, anything like that. And then we also have Shattering Spree to deal with any kind of artifacts, things like that. Same thing with Nature's Claim and Veil of Summer for any kind of counter magic. Obviously, you can also board these in. This isn't something you need to leave in your wish board. This deck was playing one Chalice of the Void as well, just as one of the ways to catch Living End, things like that. And then we also played 3 Blood Moons, to help stop against Titan, the big mana decks, Eldrazi's running around, things like that. I will say that there are a bunch of lists running around with the Storm aspect or Ruby Storm going on. I don't think the best list has been figured out yet. I don't think we're there. I don't think that Wish is probably the best list you want to run, or at least I don't think running 4 Wish is correct in your list. I'm saying that 4 times fast. I had a lot of fun with this deck. Notably, I will say that when I went through my leagues, I ended up going basically 2-3 both times. I ran into a lot of Storm as well, so Storm is kind of crazy right now on Magic Online here in Modern. Basically, everyone's playing this deck, doing things with it. Ral is so popular right now that even the service I use is telling me like, hey man, when you get done with Ral, I need you to bring it back. Like, I got a lot of people asking for this card. So it is just a very popular deck. So you're going to run into this if you are playing anything on Magic Online right now for Modern. It is everywhere. A lot of my losses came to the mirror match. It comes down to a lot of luck, really, and it comes down to who draws better. It's not so much a skill-based matchup, in my opinion. I'm not saying there's not skill involved. Obviously, you gotta know how to mulligan, how to keep good hands, right? You can't just keep, one land hands and go, why did I lose? I don't know, man. It's crazy. You can't cast any of your 2-mana spells. But a lot of it came down to my opponents just having, being able to kill me on turn 2, and I couldn't kill them on turn 2. So take that with a grain of salt. The other decks I did play against, like I played against the Blue-Red Wizards deck. I was able to beat that through interaction, counter matching and stuff. The deck is a lot more resilient than it looks. It is a little crazy how resilient this deck is. And if you're playing against a deck that obviously has interaction and things like that, you can time your rows better too, right? So like there was a point where at one point I was like turn 4 when I went off against Blue-Red Wizards through like 2 removal spells and a counter spell, because I was able to continuously trigger my Rao. So like played Rao on 2, or for 2 mana. I cast a Desperate Ritual. Noticeably, all your rituals are instant speed, which is huge for this. So cast a Desperate Ritual, then in response, try to kill it. So in response, I played a Metamorphose to try to flip Rao. They in response tried to kill it again. I had In response to another Manamorphose, which resolved, couldn't flip Rao, played another Manamorphose, being able to flip Rao on the third time of trying to do this, able to flip Rao, keep my Rao alive basically, and then plus it, and then just kept off and was able to go to the races. So playing through removal spells and things like that is not as challenging as it seems with this deck. Not to mention the biggest thing here is like Ruby Medallion is great because not a lot of things hit it, right? Like if I cast this on turn 2, if you don't have a counterspell, your removal doesn't hurt it, which was a big problem with Blue Red Storm. Is they relied on a creature. They had to have a creature stick that would just die to bolts or fatal push or insert 1 mana removal. So Ruby Medallion has really upped the game on this, and then obviously Rao just makes it broken when you're able to cast a bunch of spells and then go, hey man, I'm gonna flip the top 8 cards of my library and cast all these for free. Is that cool with you? It's cool with me. So deck is really great. I think that if you want to play Ruby Storm, it's a great deck to pick up. I do think that you're going to want to innovate on it and try to look a little bit more into what you can do. I do not think that the Wish package is the be-all, end-all for it. I know there's some red-white Ruby Storm decks running around, which look a little interesting and things like that. But yeah, definitely a fun deck to pick up. Definitely fun to play. I had a blast playing this deck. Being able to kill your opponent on turn 2 is just immensely fun. Just like, hey, do you have interaction? All right, I'm going to win. There's nothing better than feeling that, where you're just like, all right, I'm gonna go for it and win. And even the best part too is like, so say that they do have like, you go turn 2 Desperate Ritual, they let that resolve, you play Ruby Medallion, they counter Ruby Medallion. Well, we can still build up because we still have a bunch of draws to get there, and that's what makes this deck so much more potent than what the Blue Red Storm deck was, is that you can have these cards that you can just put off to the side and wait a turn or two to go in. Like this deck does well with just biding its time and waiting. So I do think it's going to be interesting to see what this morphs into. I'm definitely going to be playing more of this deck, wasting more channel points and tickets as well, trying to break it or make it the best possible version it can. People are starting to prepare for this deck. They are bringing in sideboard hate, so be prepared for that as well. But I will catch you guys next time with another sweet brew.